love to talk about David. I'm going to try not to get lost in talking about David, because I could spend all night talking about David. He's probably one of my favorite characters in the Bible, but I'm just using David's life as a metaphor to really talk to you, because my assignment tonight is to bring you into a place where you can have still waters, and you cannot have still waters until you release or let go many of the things that are distracting you and invading your space. But let me preface my remarks by saying that David is not the preferred son of Jesse. In fact, he is an ignored son of Jesse. He is the 8th child of Jesse, his father. He does not look like his life is going anywhere. He is a shepherd boy with a destiny locked inside of him. But at this moment in his life, at the early stages in his life, he is surrounded by mediocrity. Now, mediocrity is not a bad thing. Ordinariness is not a bad thing until you have greatness inside of you. When you have greatness inside of you and you're surrounded by mediocrity, you can be tormented by what other people are satisfied with. Tormented and taunted by the fact that there is a sense, there is an inner knowing within all of us that we are people of purpose and that something is supposed to happen in our lives. The challenge is, how do we get that thing that we sense in our spirit to manifest in our life when we are constantly bombarded with adversity? David is not the preferred son of Jesse. Seemingly, when the enemy knows that God is going to use you in a mighty way, he does everything he can to upset the very genesis of your life, to kind of set you on a path of destructive behavior, to limit any self-esteem that you might have. He doesn't do that. He doesn't fight anybody that's not destined to go anywhere. But when he senses that there is greatness inside of you, the attack comes early. It comes early. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Somebody who's had to fight all of your life, had to struggle all of your life. You feel like Oprah on The Color Purple. I had to fight all of my life. You've been through all kinds of stuff, and that is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of greatness. And David has greatness down inside of himself, but he has to go through a process for that greatness to be revealed. And over a period of time, God begins to bring forth his purpose. I've been on a tangent in my church about living on purpose. I've been teaching for weeks and weeks and weeks about living on purpose, because most people get up out of the bed in the morning to see what's going to happen. And then there are a elect group of people who get up out of the bed to make something happen. You have to decide which category you're going to be in. Either you're going to get up on the bed and sit on the side of the bed and say, well, Lord, what am I going to do today? Or you're going to wake up with an agenda and an urgency and a direction and a focus. See, when you got direction, you resist distraction. I said, when you got direction, you resist distraction. You know what is and is not on your agenda. David had to find that place where he began to understand that God was going to do something in his life for which his background did not predict. You would not think that God would make a king out of a shepherd boy. I want to take a moment and say, do not limit your vision to your situation. Your situation may not be an indicator of what God is going to do in your life. In fact, your situation and circumstance can be a direct contradiction to what God is going to do in your life. I have learned that God has a tendency to use the least likely people to do the most amazing things, so that when they do them, there is no question as to how they got to do what they did. It is absolutely a fact that if the Lord had not been on your side, you wouldn't be able to do what you do. Anybody who'd been through what you've been through should have had a nervous breakdown, should have thrown in the towel, should have blown their brains out. Anybody who had to fight the way you had to fight all of your life ought not even be here tonight. But when God is for you, I said, when God is for you, who can be against you. It doesn't matter whether you're the preferred son or you were the preferred daughter or whether you came from the Ivy League school or not. When God is for you, he will push you ahead. He will set you in a position. He will raise you up, and he will do it in such a way that when it happens, this is why you have haters, because when it happens, they can't understand how somebody like you could end up in a place like the problem with your haters is that they think that they're more qualified, and they may be. They think they've been groomed for it, and they may have. But when you walk in divine favor, God can execute a plan in your life that supernaturally imposes you into a position for which you've never been there before. And you're walking around like Gomer Powell talking about, golly, you don't even know how you got there, but God can beam you up. And I don't know who I'm preaching to, but somebody, you're getting ready to be beamed into a position and a situation that is beyond human comprehension. This is why you cannot afford to allow the turbulence of the times, the wickedness of your surroundings, the narrowness of your friends to deter you from your destiny. You have to have a sense in your spirit and in your heart that you have a direction and a purpose, and you're going to live on that purpose in spite of your predicament. Now God reveals himself, and God is something to reveal himself. He is beyond human comprehension. If you can explain it, it's not God. God is a mystery. He is a mystery that whenever he gets ready to communicate with you, he has to reduce himself down into a form that you can understand. Because if he were to come to you in the fullness of who he is, it would cause your brain to pop. Your mind couldn't comprehend what Paul calls the manifold wisdom of God. There's so much to him. And so he has to break it down to you real slow. So when you're hungry, he has to say, I'm bread. And when you're thirsty, he has to say, I'm water. And when you're sick, he has to say, I'm a physician. And when you're lonely, he has to say, I'm a friend. And oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying. But see, he's really all of that at the same time. But he has to bring it on you real slow. David has no background to be king. He has no background to be king. He's not come from the upper echelon of Israel. He come from common people. His father was a common man. He was a shepherd boy, smelled of sheep dung, gnats and flies around him. He stank. He was a little bit weird. When God found him, he was dancing on the mountainside, writing poems to God. Just a little off center. Yeah, peculiar, strange. One of our great problems today is that we resist being peculiar. We seek to fit in rather than to stand out.